My Quilty Life. Welcome back to my channel. I am so happy you're here. I've got a fun video planned for you today, so let's go ahead and dive in. Today I'll be talking about my new pattern, Tidy Up Tulip. These tulips are so adorable. They have little bow ties. I wanted to go over making the Tidy Up Tulip block. This pattern can be found on my website at myquiltylife.com. It is available in paper and PDF format. To make the quilt, you do need to make 9 of the Tidy Up Tulip blocks, and it is set in this really adorable checkered setting. I have never done a setting like this before, but I've seen them and I love them, and I thought this quilt would be the perfect one to do it on. So this is a small throw size. It finishes at 47.5 by 59.5. This quilt goes together super fast. I was able to make it in about a weekend, maybe a little less. I had to stop occasionally to take my son to baseball, but this is a super quick quilt. And if you didn't want to make all the blocks, you totally could make a 4-patch, or you could make a table runner or bed runner, just using some blocks going all the way across. So let's go ahead and dive into the pattern. Okay, so on page 1, that is where you'll find the basic instructions as well as the quick cutting guide. Now, something I do in my patterns is I tell you exactly what to cut for the whole entire quilt by cutting width of fabric strips and then sub-cutting those down into the pieces you need. But what I also do in my patterns, if you want to just make one block, let's say you want to make a mini quilt, a wall hanging, or just don't want to have to go through the entire cutting instructions for the whole quilt, you can make one block. I have the instructions on page 2, and that's kind of what I'm going to use today to make my block. So I went ahead and used that table to cut out my pieces. So here they are. I'm going to be making my tulip a little different. I've made quite a bit of the ones that match the pattern, so I wanted to make something a little different. So I'm going to be using a low volume for my tulip head. I'm using this fig tree print. I believe it's from Ella and Ollie. It's a line that was back in 2017 or 18. And then I'm using some Coriander Quilts, some of her beautiful plus print. And then I think this might be Strawberry Fields Revisited. I had this in my scrap bin, so I thought that would be perfect to match that blue in here. And it's a little different than something I normally do. I also chose Bella Ivory instead of an off-white like I would normally do, just to make it more creamy. So go ahead and cut out all of your pieces and label them. It makes it so much easier when you can label them. I use these Alphabetis by Fat Quarter Shop. I will link them below in the description. These are a lifesaver because my patterns usually have a lot of pieces, and it just helps to be able to keep track and organized of your pieces. All right, are we ready to get started? I am. I cannot wait to see this tulip block come to life. Okay, I'm going to slide my pieces out of the way. Oh, I forgot to mention, I also use a design board. You can get these at Fat Quarter Shop too. They have a cute little binding on them, or you can make your own. I just used foam core board and hot glued batting on it to make my own. These are a lifesaver. I love being able to see all my pieces all at once. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with step 1. So for step 1, we need piece C. So we got our C's, E, J, and L. And what we're going to do is draw a diagonal line on these pieces. Now, if you watch my videos, you know that I do not draw a diagonal line. I use diagonal seam tape by Cluck Cluck Sew on my sewing machine. I match my corner up with that red line, and I just sew all the way down. Okay, I'll also link that in the description below. Okay, so since I'm not drawing diagonal lines, I'm gonna move on to step 2. So for step 2, we need fabric M rectangles, and I'm gonna set these back on my design board. We need fabric M and fabric L. What we're going to do is we are going to align 2 fabric L squares on the top corners of fabric M rectangle and sew on our diagonal line. And then in the instructions, we're gonna press in opposite directions. So pay close attention to the pressing arrows. They are black in the pattern. After that, you're just going to measure and make sure that your unit, your M unit, measures what the measurement is in the pattern, and then we will move on to step 3. So I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. Okay, I just finished with step 2. Here are my M units. I went ahead and put them on a smaller design board. Because we pressed in opposite directions, we are going to be able to nest our seams perfectly when we go to step 3. So for step 3, we are going to assemble each of the M units together to make one tulip top unit. So I will do that and I will be right back. Okay, I just finished with step 3. Here is my tulip top unit. Next, we are going to be moving on to step 4, and we are taking our fabric E squares and placing them on the bottom of our tulip top unit and sewing on our diagonal line and pressing towards fabric E. So I will go ahead and do that and I will be right back. Okay, I just finished with step 4. Here we are with our tulip top unit. So now we're going to be moving on to step 5. And we're going to need our fabric F rectangles, and what we're going to do is assemble them to the sides of our tulip top unit. Very easy, guys. This pattern is such a breeze. It is actually very easy. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I will be right back, and we'll move on to step 6. Okay, I just finished step 5, and now we're going to be moving on to the little bow. So I'm going to set this one aside, and what we need for step 6 is fabric ends and our fabric J's. We just need 4 of them. You have 6. So what we're going to do for this step is align our fabric J squares on the sides of our fabric N rectangles. Now, if you're using directional fabric for this bow, you're going to want to make sure that you follow the diagram in the pattern. But since I'm not using directional, I could totally just assemble like this, and then when I'm done, just flip it over. Pay attention if you are using directional fabric. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do these in units, and I'll be right back to move on to step 7. Okay, I just finished step 6, and my N units are complete. Now we're going to sew fabric K to the top. Make sure that you have arranged them like this first. And we're going to sew fabric K to the top, press towards fabric K, and then we will move on to step 8. Okay, I just finished with step 7, and I'm loving this cute little bow. Normally I would go for maybe pink as the bow, just because there was a little bit of pink in here, and pink is my favorite color, but I'm loving this like seafoam blue. It is really pretty. Okay, now we're going to move on to step 8. Now step 8 has essentially 2 steps in it. So in the diagram, there are arrows with numbers. And what you do first is do the arrow 1, then the arrow 2. So for arrow 1, we're going to be assembling our fabric G rectangles to the sides of our bow unit. Okay, then for step 2 of step 8, I know that can get confusing. Maybe I should say it a different way. After you've done that and pressed, your next step will be to assemble D. I did this so that my patterns don't end up with a million pages with a lot of different steps. And I tried to combine steps where I thought it made sense. And this really does make sense. You sew your fabric G and then press and then assemble your fabric D, and you will have your bow units. So I will go ahead and do that, and I will be right back. Okay, I just finished with step 8, and this turned out so good, so good. Okay, now we're gonna move on to step 9. And for step 9, we need 2 fabric P squares. Something I forgot to mention in the beginning of the video is you will need to draw a diagonal line on the back of 2 of your fabric P squares. I forgot to mention that, but it does say that in your pattern. So you're probably looking at it and being like, Heather, you forgot to say P. I did. Okay, so what we're gonna do is align them with the bottom corners like this. Stitch on our diagonal line here and here and press towards fabric P. Now I will do that and I will be right back. Okay, I just finished with step 9, and now we're gonna move on to step 10. So I can actually set these aside. These are our bow units, so set them up there. We're gonna be using, for step 10, we're gonna be using fabric S, fabric R, and our fabric O, which is just that same color as the bow, and assembling those together and pressing towards fabric O. So I will go ahead and do that, and I will be right back. Okay, I just finished with step 10. So now we're going to be moving on to step 11. So step 11 starts on page 3. So if we can set this one aside, this is our stem unit. We'll set that one aside. What we need is our fabric C. Now fabric C should be the one that you drew the diagonal lines on, and we need the rest of our fabric P's. Look, this is getting messy. We'll just put those over there. What we're gonna do is make half square triangles. Half square triangles, that's it. So go ahead and right sides facing, and we're going to assemble on our diagonal line. So I will do that and I will be right back. Okay, I just finished with step 11 and I have my 2 half square triangles. Don't forget, go ahead and press those open. Okay, now we're gonna be moving on to step 12. And for step 12, we're just gonna be putting the whole tulip bottom together. And this one does have 3 steps in it. So what we need to do is we do need our P units, we need our stem unit, and we need each of these bow units. So you can kind of see how that's going together. So what we're gonna do first, so the arrows with the ones, we're gonna assemble these 2 together. So assemble those 2 together and these 2 together. Press towards our half square triangles, our P units. Next, we're going to assemble our stem unit. But one thing we need to make sure that we do is we want to make sure that our seams align good here and here. So when we open it up, our bow isn't shifted. So just pay close attention to that. What I like to do is align the center right here with the center of the little blue piece of my stem unit. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll be right back with my finished tulip bottom unit. Okay, I just finished step 12, and here we have our tulip bottom unit. This turned out so good so far. I don't know about you, but when I'm sewing on camera, sometimes this could go a little crazy, but so far everything seems to be going pretty well. So I'm going to go ahead and put that to the side and now move on to step 13. So for step 13, we need our remaining J squares and our Q squares. And we're just making small half square triangles again, and these will become our J units. So I will do that and I'll be right back. Okay, I just finished with step 13, and here we have our little J units. These little guys are so cute. Okay, now we're gonna be moving on to step 14. So for step 14, we need our little J units. We also need 2 of our fabric I's and our 2 fabric H's. So we do need to pay close attention to the diagram because we need to make sure that we are arranged correctly. So we're gonna go ahead and make the left side. So this is how the left side will look. And then our right side will look like this. So I'm gonna go ahead and assemble fabric I to the J unit and then press and assemble fabric H. You're gonna be pressing towards fabric I and fabric H. So I will do that and then we will be ready to move on to step 15. Okay, I just finished with step 14 and now we have our side units. Okay, so now we're gonna assemble our side units to our tulip bottom. So we're just gonna scoot this one over and place him right here. So what we need to make sure is our seams line up. So the top of this lines up along this seam right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and assemble these side units to our tulip bottom unit. And I'm gonna press towards our side units and I will be right back. Okay, I just finished with step 15 and our tulip bottom is complete. So again, you wanna make sure that those line up perfectly. If they're off a little bit, you'll be able to notice because the contrast in the background fabric and your stem fabric. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to step 16. And for step 16, we are gonna go ahead and assemble our tulip top to our tulip bottom. Okay, so we just wanna make sure that we line up the middle of the stem with the middle here. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that and I will press towards the tulip top and I'll be right back. Okay, I just finished with step 16 and our tulip unit is looking super cute. I really love this fabric. There's just something about it that just makes me smile. I don't know if it's just because it's so creamy and warm or what, but I love it. Okay, our final step for our tulip block is step 17. We are going to assemble our fabric A rectangles to the sides, press towards fabric A, and our fabric B rectangles to the top and bottom, pressing towards fabric B. So I will go ahead and do that, and when I get back, I'll reveal my final tulip block. Okay, are you guys ready to see my final tidy up tulip block? It looks so good. I love it so much. Oh my goodness. It turned out better than expected. Sometimes when I'm on camera or I'm kind of sewing a little under the pressure, I mess up more. I have to use my seam ripper more. Those are really not things you guys really see or get to see. It would take, the video would be like 40 minutes long if I shared every mistake that I have, but just know that I have mistakes too. So this actually turned out really great. My points aren't cut off. Everything is lining up. It just looks so good. So I'm so proud of this. One thing you could do is, instead of adding borders A and B, if you didn't want to make the quilt, you totally could make a couple of these tulip blocks and alternate them. So have the tulip head down here and the stem here, and make like a table runner. I think that would be really pretty. Or do two and make a pillow. I probably will do a pillow. I know I'm probably gonna make this into a cute wall hanging and maybe hang it in my dining room, because now my dining room has all sorts of quilty things everywhere. I think this would be super cute on the wall. If you missed it, I did a branding shoot about a week ago. Yeah, a week and a half ago. And I decorated my entire dining room like a sewing studio. Quilty things everywhere, and my husband really loved it, so he said I should totally keep it up. So I am. So I think this would look super cute, so I think I'll probably just quilt it and put some binding on it and hang it on the wall. Now, don't forget to pick up your copy of the Tidy Up Tulip quilt, as well as share your tulip block on Instagram using hashtag TidyUpTulipQuilt. I cannot wait to start seeing your tulips pop up. This pattern is so cute. I'm so excited to show you my final quilt. I'll be quilting that today. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on other tutorials that I film. Also, feel free to leave a comment below letting me know if you are going to stitch up this really cute Tidy Up Tulip quilt. I will link everything in the description below that I mentioned. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for being here. Bye, guys.